I'm a right-wing Israeli. Some would say extreme right-wing. What I wanted to give you more insight into right-wing Israelis' minds.
Today, Israel isn't really worried about Egyptian attacks in Israel, right? They're not worried about Jordanian attacks in Israel.
Egyptian, I wouldn't say that. There are some talks about that, yes.
No, come on. Wait, being serious. No, come on. It's not a serious concern right now that like Egypt is about to invade Israel. Pain that's going to be endured in any sort of lasting peaceful process just grows as you continue to choose short-term security arrangements over long-term realistic solutions that are recognizing the realities on the ground. And that the framing of the Palestinian refugee problem as a simple economic problem demonstrates a failure of an Israeli Jew to understand what's at stake here, because I know that I could flip the question around to you and I could say, let's say that we offer. Are you really going to go to Israel?
So I've been getting invited for maybe the past couple of weeks. I just need a good reason to go, like some kind of content thing, or just something to actually do when I'm there that's like valuable, rather than just being a tourist, you know? There's like a surprising number of people in my audience who are from that area, and they all live like fairly close together. There's like an Israeli and a Palestinian who both live in Israel, like within 20 minutes of each other, and like one of them lives in one of the old villages where a famous massacre happened in the 50s and shit. So I don't know, I feel like if I was going to go there, it would be to get a bunch of willing Israeli Palestinian wankers together and just discuss shit, like, I don't know, dialogue, because at the end of the day, like, maybe that plays a part in it, is like getting the actual two groups to talk to each other. I don't know.
I think doing like street interviews and talking to people would be super interesting.
When I watch like the Jubilee panels of the Israelis and Palestinians like talking to each other, I feel like it definitely gives you some insight, and it gives you some hope as well, that they can, the fact that like it's not that difficult to find Israelis and Palestinians who are more willing to talk and listen to each other than like white leftists are willing to talk to like center left Israelis, you know? Like the fact that people who have literally been in and out of Israeli jails can still sometimes be more humane and have more willingness to reach across than like a white leftist college student from the United States.
Well, I think that like, I keep going back to this. Wait, oh no, I was gonna say it's a Joker quote, but no, it's not, thank God. Way better. Have you ever seen the movie Men in Black?
The Will Smith one from way back.
Yeah, there must be like a philosopher or somebody that's encapsulated this in simpler words. But Jay and Kay are talking to each other, and Jay brings up like, well, why don't you just tell people that like aliens are real? It's okay, you don't have to freak out. And I think Kay is like, that'd be horrible. And Jay's like, well, people are smart. And then Kay says something like, a person is smart, but people are stupid.
Why the big secret? People are smart, they can handle it.
Person is smart. People are dumb, panicky, dangerous animals, and you know it.
You left, right, get in my zone.
Well, people are smart. And then Kay says something like, a person is smart, but people are stupid. I think that group dynamics change people significantly. I think you can take almost any individual, like 99% of any individual. I'm doing some tabula rasa shit, okay, blank slate. I think you take almost any individual, when you start talking to them, get them to understand and be pretty reasonable. But when you have people in big groups, it's just a whole different monster. So it doesn't surprise me that you get a bunch of people. I bet you could even theoretically get like Hamas people and settlers together and have conversations. It would be rough, but like one-on-one, I think you could do it. But the groups of people just make everything unhinged.
That's also, because I've heard of, do you know Corey Gill Schuster, whatever the called, the Canadian dude who does the street interviews in Israel and Palestine? He says one of the big issues is that even people who are willing to talk become unwilling because they're worried about their family seeing their face in one of these videos, and like the kind of taboo about that, right? Yeah. So
that kind of goes into the whole I think that like social pressures dictate a lot of our belief systems. Yeah
there is there's someone from a Palestinian who lives in Israel in your stream disagreements thing who wants to get dragged into this, because I think he's got suggestions for us. Severalizer.
Hold on.
First off, I am looking for an org that can take you around the West Bank if you're interested in that. Although I wouldn't suggest it at this current time, because the tensions are high.
That's the best time to do it.
No, it's not. Not if you value your life. There is plenty of villages you can visit within Israel that like are pretty safe.
We should go full Sacha Baron Cohen or whatever. We can like brown face and like speak fake Arabic, I bet we could blend right in. If we did it, it would be epic content if we didn't die, LonerBox. And you've got the curly hair and everything.
I mean, there is that Saluki guy who got away with it, so...
Yeah, but he actually looks Arab, and he's Iraqi Jewish. He can pronounce.
And he can talk Arabic. Yeah. I'm not even. No.
Okay, so all right, Destiny. Just so you know, you can't be doing your anti-Muslim stuff within like Arab villages because the majority of them are.
Yeah,
Muslim.
thanks. I didn't know that, dude. Just like how I go to restaurants and I scream the N-word at black people. Like, thank you so much. Do you have any other like cultural like clarifications you want to make for me? Like, thanks, bud.
Well, but even asking questions sometimes, like you don't even have to say insults or anything. You even asking questions like about the religion can offend people, right? Like I mean, you're older.
Well, like what do you mean? I feel like it depends on the question. I think I'm socially intelligent. I'm not going to be like, so do you think that it was okay that Aisha got railed by Muhammad when she was 9 years old? And do you want to see this drawing I made of it? Like, I'm not retarded, but I feel like if it's genuinely
they're even like simple things. Like I feel like do you remember when Hassan asked the dude if he was Sunni or Shia and the guy looked at him funny? Like that kind of, I don't know, just like
if you bring up Shias, that's like the only group of people within Israel, at least Palestinians within Israel would hate more than the Jews. So
is that because Druze are like a spinoff of Shia?
Not necessarily, no. They just, I don't know. The view of the Druze is weird because, like, everyone knows the Druze are, like, super patriotic because of their religion, so no one holds it against them, but they're also kind of quite a bit racist. So.
I also feel like, I don't know, I need, like, an actual, wait, are you Muslim or what are you, several
I am Muslim, yeah.
Oh, like, isn't asking somebody if they're Sunni or Shia kind of weird? Like, if you're a Sunni Muslim, do you consider yourself a Sunni Muslim? Don't you just consider yourself a Muslim?
You just consider yourself Muslim.
Yeah, and if you're like a Shia, wouldn't you more identify like if you're the like a Haiti or the Houthi family or whatever? I think is it Haitiism or whatever, or with the Ayatollah or some shit? Do you call yourself Shia Muslim, or do you identify more with like the particular Shia sect?
Well, I mean, what I know about Shias is usually online. So because there's no Shias here, there's like 300, and I never went to their village before.
Oh, okay.
So like I don't know how they would normally identify each other as like in real in person, but online they usually do just say they're Shia Muslim, or like have like 313. I don't know what that means, but they always have 313 in their fucking bios.
Based, okay. LonerBox, okay. If you legitimately had an interest in this, okay, this would be in my brain, what I would broadly think about, okay, is that it would probably be for a week. I think a week is a good amount of time. Maybe a few days longer. Not 2 weeks, because fuck that. And not like 3 or 4 days, because what the fuck. It would probably be about a week, anywhere from 7 to 10 days. It would be cool to visit a big Jewish majority population center, a big Arab majority population center in Israel proper. And then if there are like, just to like ask people questions on the street and stuff, I think would be super interesting. We'd probably draw some attention because we'd have cameras with us, so people would step up and talk and blah, blah, blah. We'd have to make sure that there are like, if there's stupid like permit rules or something, we would have to make sure that that's okay. We wouldn't want to show up with a camera guy and then have like a fucking IDF soldier, take our shit and tell us we can't do that.
I don't think there's rules like that as far as
you might not think it, yeah, but I would have to 100% clear it because it'd be a huge waste of time and money to show up and then it's all fucked. So those two things would happen. There would have to be a visit to Jerusalem. There'd have to be some like engagement with like the Temple Mount. So talking to people coming in and out of like, I don't know, fucking Al-Aqsa or Temple Mount. I don't know what parts we're allowed to go in or not. That would be super interesting because there's like a lot of conflict in Jerusalem between like the residents and the citizens and everything. And then some type of conversations on the West Bank would be really interesting too. I don't know where we can go or what's like safe or not safe, but talking to settlers and Arabs would be really interesting. Also, we would have to develop a consistent list of questions before going. Like I would want like a standard 10 or 20 questions that we would ask people, or maybe we'd have like short form interview versus long form interview. So like for a short form, like what are like 4 random questions we ask people? And then like for a long form, maybe like here's like 10 topics that I want people to go deep in on, so that if we were to make a long form video coming back, we could say like, oh, like here's views of this, and you can kind of like organize it based on questions and stuff would be nice. We would have to have, I personally, for me, I would have to reach out to, or no, I don't have to pursue this, but I would want to talk to like people that have been in the business of fixing before down there. So like who's somebody that has experience escorting people through these areas, that has experience escorting, namely Westerners and stuff through these areas, preferably people that have dealt with like e-celebs or celebs or something before, so they've got experience dealing with relatively
I'm already
popular
looking
on that,
into
blah, blah,
that for you.
blah. And then...
Yeah, like even that, if I can get a hold of that fucking Corey guy, that would be really good because he's actually done that extensively. Like,
Sure,
already.
yeah, somebody with experience there. And then I would say if we could angle that into a final conversation before leaving with Netanyahu, that would be based, but I don't think that would ever happen. Even if I would ask Lex, there's no way that I could get a conversation or that we could talk to him. Being able to angle that into some sort of conversation with a popular Israeli Knesset member or government member or somebody would be super based, but I don't know how high up we could get there. Apostate, what's up?
I was just listening. I know you guys.
Wait, can you, your microphone is committing jihad on this conversation right now. Can you boost this by like 7,000%? Holy shit. Oh my God, if Noah Samson wanted to go, that would actually be amazing.
Wait, is that the mustache dude who blocked everyone?
I don't know if he blocked everybody, but no, because actually, wait, I want somebody that's really invested in the topic. I think he's just like a flavor of the week. I mean, I'm flavor of the week too, to be fair, but.
Chad Logic? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I actually need to go because my handler and I haven't talked in a while. It's been hard to get communications through.
Be careful.
Delete the lolly.
Katie is too unhinged. I'm not interested.
Try not to get anyone that's like will get you into like here. The problem is you're not probably gonna get anyone that's like moderate enough about Palestinians and Israel, like that's pro-Palestinian, that's moderate on Israelis, that will be allowed into the country.
To be fair, in the last couple of months, I've been getting more one-state pilled again. I've been there before. I can just put that hat back on. Like,
well, I mean, like one state,
not
it's
fucking
just
happening. I'm sorry.
Yeah, when you say one state, it just depends on what you mean. Because like one state solves so many problems, right? One state is very attractive for a variety of reasons. It's just the biggest questions are about refugees. What the fuck does that look like? And then equal rights and equal access to like military stuff. What does that look like? Those are like the two.
Means Israel in name only. And I'm not saying that in a meme way. That's really if it's going to be fair and not just these people get kicked out to another country. That's really what it comes down to.
I'm sorry, but
for what do you mean Israel in name only? Or I don't understand.
Like equal voting rights. What's it called? Oh shit, my brain's not working. When you enfranchisement of the Arab populace, like integration into Israeli society. Like
yeah, that was what one state would, one state implies.
It is, but it's not what Israel wants or Israel.
I think Israel just wants to maintain like the Jewish character of the nation, but past that, I mean.
To be clear, neither side wants one state for two people. It's the least popular of all the solutions for both groups, right? They both prefer one state for one people, or one state with apartheid than one state for two people. But I guess that's the thing. It's like I feel like if I'm gonna talk the talk with fucking like one state, then what better way to do it than by like trying to encourage some kind of like dialogue between the two sides? Because I think one of the big problems with one state is that neither side wants anything to do with each other. They don't want to talk to each other. Like even when they get fucking permits, like if they go into people from Gaza or the West Bank, they go into Israel and they don't talk to anyone, you know, apart from just for work reasons. Yeah.
I do want to mention that like the one state thing, the most likely way this could happen, the one state thing, is like Palestinians get residency. They wouldn't get citizenship.
No, that can't be. That's untenable. That's just as bad as apartheid.
I know it's really bad, but it's still like East Jerusalem people live better than the West Bank people. No, you laugh, but I
No. Someone edited a picture of me with an Arab headdress, and it's ridiculous, but funny.
Fine. That's okay. Whatever. Like, but residency, as in like, there's still like a process for you to become a citizen. It just takes a long time. Like a really, it's probably better for you to convert to Judaism to get citizenship than to go through the process from residency to citizenship.
Yeah, isn't it true that like I'm saying this genuinely asking, so don't hit me with a fucking gotcha. Isn't it true that like they won't allow certain people to convert to Judaism from like Arab people?
I don't know. They just don't want anyone to convert to Judaism because that's like within their religion. They're supposed to like discourage you from converting to Judaism, and if you just keep like being insistent on it, then they'll like start like opening up to it. But generally, they just say no to anybody.
Wait, I thought it was. I get so many mixed answers on this. I need to actually dig into this.
Well, that's Orthodox Judaism. Like,
Oh, sure, yeah, I'm just saying-
you send an application and you're Jewish, apparently.
Well, I don't think it's
Well, my
that easy, but I'm pretty sure if you want to convert to Judaism and you're willing to like learn the bullshit language so you can do your bar mitzvah or whatever the fuck you have to do, I'm pretty sure anybody can do it. I wasn't aware of any like racial or ethnic or prior religious restrictions on it.
I mean, if you're going by the standard Orthodox, well, there's Sephardic Orthodox and then it's like regular Ashke Orthodox. If you're going by them, it's usually it takes several years, and when you first go, they'll say no, and they'll keep telling you no, and you just have to keep going until they say yes. And even then, you can never break the process the process of keeping, for example, Shabbat, or you can try your best. Obviously, if you break Shabbat once out of the 3 years, they're not gonna be like, oh, you can't be Jewish, but you have to actually be serious about it.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. Is that there was some guy that emailed me a huge thing, and he said that a lot of people say it's incredibly difficult. A lot of people say that it's prohibitively difficult. That it is not everybody can do blah blah. But I think the basically the TLDR of his email was that if you really want to convert to Judaism and you're serious about it, that anybody can do it. But it's you have to be serious about it. It can't just be I'm a cultural Muslim, or I'm a cultural Jew, or oh, I think I know what Shabbat means, or whatever. You have to fully commit to it. But if you're willing to fully commit and learn and do everything, then yeah, anybody can do it. That's what this one big guy emailed me, but yeah.
Yeah, if you want to convert to Judaism, you usually have to be religiously Jewish. You cannot just be ethnically Jewish.
Sure.
So, you have to be religiously Jewish. Usually and I think for example, I think if you convert to Judaism and then the mother has to be Jewish and then you have a kid, if the mother is Jewish, then he's considered ethnically Jewish, by halakha standards. So but it's still 2 to 3 years process to convert to Judaism, while
Sure.
Getting citizenship through residency is 5-6 years, and it's a really tough process, is what I heard.
Okay. I'm gonna drag.
Hezbollah have escalated rocket fire in the north.
Yeah, I heard.
Oh, yeah.
That's exciting.
Let me just check on my friend.
Dragging sample text up here. What do you want? Sample text.
Yeah, hey, what's up?
If you're gonna suggest Bnei Brak, don't.
I was about to. No, it would be the best content ever. Okay, Bnei Brak, for those who don't know, is the Haredim city. Okay, it's the most religious, but they're not they're different than settlers. They're not as nationalistic. If you want to go, you can go to Jerusalem. Of course, you must do that. But they're they're their whole thing. They're pretty segregated. They're relatively poor. It would be fascinating. I think that's a must if you're going to interview. There are the Druze. There are Druze villages. But also another thing about Judaism. Judaism is pretty kind of closed in. Think of it like this. You have a lot of big mosques and big churches, but you don't really have a lot of big synagogues. That's because throughout its history, Judaism has been not inviting people in, not necessarily being hostile towards people coming in. I think they are kind of, but it's not. It was never a religion that wants to proselytize and get as many people into it as possible. So that explains that.
Okay.
An Israeli person in my chat is saying that no one from Bnei Brak would talk to us.
Yeah.
What is Bnei Brak? I don't know what the fuck that means.
It's
that's the biggest Haredim city. Haredim are the ultra religious. Yeah.
Okay. Wait,
They're the
Haladim,
ones-
ultra
Yeah.
religious Jewish people?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course. Yeah. Yeah. There's that. Oh, also, there will be a lot of soldiers. I'm in the IDF, but I'm not sure if you can just go ahead and interview soldiers, because I think there are rules that say you cannot engage with necessarily political stuff. But I wonder, it depends on how you. Maybe if you say it's educational, but not they will. It might be iffy. Not that they check that much, but.
I think you're supposed to just keep out of politics as a soldier.
Yeah, but I've been to allegedly I've been to protests and no one did anything to me. So it's right. I would
Would it be
never, because
quite-
I'm a soldier. But
Would it be easy enough to get talks in Nazareth?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
'Cause that's
never been.
90% or 99% Arab, right?
I'm gonna have to go with you though, because you probably
Yeah.
can't speak Arabic.
Yeah. You might want a translator. I mean, that will slow everything down. It would be kind of ruining the content. But if you want, someone who can't speak English, you cannot just ask them something in English, right? Yeah, that'd be a thing.
Assalamu alaikum. See, I can do it.
Well,
We're good.
Rule.
Just take Lycan.
Holy fuck.
Yeah. Wait, someone's.
But fuck, like, do you have any other plans to visit certain areas within Israel Destiny? Because here, Loner wants to try and find like old abandoned Palestinian villages.
Oh damn!
Wait, somebody's
Also-
gonna try to do what? Say that again.
Find like old abandoned Palestinian villages from like the 48.
For what?
He just
The
wants
thing-
to look at them and or see them.
Yeah, because there's just like when you look up some of the stories about them, there's just not that much written about a lot of them. Apart from this, they get like one paragraph in a fucking really long book. Yeah, I don't know.
Oh.
I just thought it'd be
Yeah.
interesting. Especially
I think
because
a lot
like,
of-
they're very undocumented. You know, like there's not like any signs telling you where they are. I think you just kind of have to find. You have to just look and know where they are. Yeah.
I think there's
Also,
also
a
a difference
couple things-
between
go
like
ahead.
Jewish, because especially because Jewish are pretty westernized people, and prior to that, even 48 before Israel or whatever, I think Jewish people are more likely to keep like accurate like written records of everything. Whereas I think for especially the Arabs living in this region, I think oral histories and stuff were a lot more popular. Like they weren't writing history
Of course.
books or
Yeah.
writing stuff about the city. So if enough people died or enough people fled and then died of whatever and forgot their cities, like that information is just lost forever, basically.
Yeah, Morris talks about this a lot. I think he mentioned that in your conversation too, but he mentions that every time he talks about like archives and whatnot, he mentions like, keep in mind, we don't really have a lot of, Palestinian or Muslim or, archives. But yeah.
Yeah.
Someone
Although I will
DM'd
say,
me right
I
now
asked,
saying-
I asked him about this because we had a long talk before our debate a week ago, and his response was because I brought up like, what do you think about the fact that Arab states don't make the archives available and blah blah blah, and he says, yeah, that's a really frustrating thing. And then he brought up that another thing that's interesting is that a lot of the people in that region at the time relied a lot more on oral history than written history. So a lot of oral stories get passed down, and then eventually they get recorded. But Benny Morris said that when he investigated most of these oral histories, that for the most part, he didn't give me any counterexamples. He said for the most part, the oral histories actually tend to map onto like the written records, like almost verbatim. That they flesh out stories more, but it's not like the oral histories of the Arab people was like wildly departing from any established fact or whatever, and that it seemed to like plug in pretty readily to written histories that you could find on the Israeli side or any Western side.
Okay, that's interesting. I don't think I've heard him mention that, but that's interesting.
Because I think he said as of recently he's taken a bit seriously more of the oral history that's been recorded by the Arab side, because before he and I guess other historians were skeptical of it. That was my understanding of what he said. I'm not trying to misquote him or anything, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. Someone DM'd me right now saying like there are soldiers who do like TikToks and whatnot. So I don't think it would be a problem for anyone. You might at most you can censor their faces or whatnot. But like yeah, you can go talk to soldiers. I don't think they would care, or the army would care. Another thing, you cannot just go to Tel Aviv and be like, oh, we were in a Jewish city, because cities in Israel are very politically segregated. Like Tel Aviv is the beacon of like left wing Israelis. But like if you go to Netanya or anything else, like Sev knows, right? Like it would be completely different, right?
Yeah, and Netanya, I would suggest not speak about. There's nothing in
I was
Netanya
just
for them to
throwing a
go
city.
look at. Yeah, like
Netanya
actually-
sounds fucking quite hostile the way you guys talk
just,
about it. Yeah.
Yeah, well, hostile to Arabs. You should probably not go. This thing would probably be fucking fine.
I was gonna maybe even suggest like fucking is it Nahariya or Kiryat Shmona, but these are like they'll all be evacuated now, right? The
Kiryat- yeah,
Lebanese
you
towns
can
and
go.
Yeah. I have a friend from Kiryat
yeah.
Shmona. He's evacuated. He lives the dream, dude. He gets money every month. And
Is
yeah.
he Lebanese descendant or? Because
No, he's Israeli.
Okay.
He's I'm sorry. He's Jewish. Like yeah, he's normal.
But those
he's
are
not,
where Lebanese descended people live, right? Or have Israeli citizenship? No.
Not sure about the demographics of yeah. Kibbutzi might be interesting, but I'm not sure. It's like the South is very heterogeneous, so.
I mean, here, Destin is probably going to be going to Ariel if he goes with what I suggested.
Apparently, Nahariya is not evacuated, even though it's way up there, north of Accra, or Acre, whatever the fuck it's called.
Dumbass. Oh, the Golan Heights would be interesting to go to as well.
Oh damn! Yeah, like the Hebron, not Hebron, Hermon. Oh my god, yeah.
Kiryat Shmona, you can't like completely empty. You can't go there. I think the safest, most northern you can go is probably Nazareth and Haifa.
Yeah, I'm in Haifa right now. You can just go walk the streets. No one would care. But maybe in a month, I don't know. War is imminent. No, I'm joking. There was a historian. I think it would be cool to talk to, but I think he now is in the United States, so it's not.
They're not going to be coming now.
Yeah.
You think Sean would come? Sean's call? I don't know.
I don't know.
You still looking for a
the
third
guy
person?
who made the skull guy from?
It's just funny. It's actually quite sad to go through all these names and just think none of them would even want to.
Yeah, no, because here I have a so.
Oh my God, traveling Israel.
he
Yeah.
wanted.
Well, we've been speaking about that earlier. Yeah.
Bro, that would be the funniest content you could actually come out with out of Israel.
No, that'd be crazy. Like you and like traveling Israel and LonerBox just having like a one-on-one. That would be good content, I think.
Well, I was considering turning up in a fucking like one of those like old Arab garb with a hood and just kind of like doing one of his tours and then just taking it off when he starts talking.
Oh damn! That'd
Maybe
be
don't do
based.
that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fucking do that. Jesus Christ, that's so rude and cringe.
I could
That's what's
almost.
outed here.
This is I don't think I would do this, but I could almost certainly grab Sneeko. I think he would be desperate to do this.
Bro.
No.
I'm not. Like he might, but I don't know how much he knows. He would just like
Everything he's learned
Almost
is from Nick
nothing.
Fuentes, so he has the most skewed fucking view on this shit.
Like I don't think he could name. He always does this. Like name 3 countries. One. I don't think he could name 3 cities in Israel. Like why invite him, right? But
I don't know if I could name 3 cities in Israel. Does the West Bank count?
Name it. I mean, that's Israel.
We know
Gaza.
we know Tel Aviv and we know Jerusalem and we know Lod. That counts. There you go. Boom.
Okay.
Tel
Well,
Aviv,
yeah.
right?
Is Haifa? That's still a city, right? That didn't get like
Haifa's-
absorbed
yeah.
by fucking.
Haifa is a city.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
true.
Mixed city.
There we go.
You're good at it.
Is Lauren Southern one of the right wingers who's gone on a pro-Palestine arc?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's this clip from 2017 that she talks to Destiny,
Yeah.
and she's not like, she's like in the middle. I think I don't know.
No, she was definitely not in the middle there. But I think that it's analyzing the right-wing positions on these international conflicts is a bit complicated. Like, for instance, and it really depends on the flavor of right-winger you get into. But for the ones that are like pro-Russia and pro-Palestinian, they're not really that as much. They're just like very, very, very anti-U.S. interventionalist. And that will put them in an area where they'll kind of like shit on Israel and be kind of pro-Palestine, or shit on Ukraine and be kind of pro-Russia. Now, there are other people that for stronger ideological reasons will bend that way. But I think the majority position tends to just be like, oh, the U.S. shouldn't interfere in any of these things, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, another thing, I have some communist friends who are well read. It might be interesting to talk to them, but I'm not sure they would agree. one of them, like, never mind.
I would suggest not dragging them into this, because if you get their faces out there, they're would actually.
Oh, he's open about it. He was like in a documentary.
I know.
Yeah.
I understand, Sample, but like you don't know who. Like for example, the people that would watch that documentary are not the same people that would probably watch Destiny. You don't know who's unhinged or who's not, like willing to do that type of stuff. So I would
That's
say
fair.
keep the communist Israelis out of it.
Also, something interesting about like the being like super anti-U.S. intervention or whatnot, that like gets you to be quote unquote pro-Palestine, but actually the right wing in Israel, and I mostly have in mind like the Channel 14 crazy BB lovers. They're like also pretty much antagonistic to the United States. They always say U.S. imperialism every time stuff gets it, like because they like view right now Biden and the Democrats as like super. You know, they think they're super anti-Israel.
No, that's not surprising at all to me. That the very, very far right people probably wouldn't be very warm, at least to the current administration. Yeah,
they don't like being told what to do by anybody.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Have you LonerBox or any of you have read the Sasson report from 2005? You know what I'm referencing?
I've not read it, no.
I feel like when I try to go into this question of were the settlements expanding through Oslo II, or were they not expanding, it is like such an, I guess it's like all the Israeli fucking topics. It's such an unbelievably complicated question. Initially, they weren't expanding. And there was like that one Wikipedia article that linked that one graph. Then somebody did a deep dive into that and said, well, actually, the prior 2 years that showed the huge increase, that was because of a huge wave of immigration, and they actually were expanding after that. Then I saw a guy do a huge counter to that and say, actually, those huge waves of immigration never stopped, so they really did slow down. Then I had a guy email me, and I had him showing me, well, actually, if you look, the settlements that quote unquote weren't expanding were just building new construction in the settlements, but that was considered like miles and miles away, so they actually were expanding. In 2005, there was I think it's called the Sasson Report. Sasson Report, 2005.
Is this the one where basically like right wingers and I think Sharon was one of them, was basically helping people build outposts to disconnect Palestinian communities?
So I
the late
don't
90s?
think it was Sharon, because I think he was the one that commissioned it. I don't think, but basically what it was, so this is super interesting too, is that apparently, now I want to be super clear, I've only read overviews of this, I haven't read the report itself, so I could be missing some underlying thing that makes it even more nuanced, but apparently a lot of the settlement expansion that happened in the late 90s was actually completely illegal. And the reason why they were able to do it is because they were funneling money illegally off of tons of different Israeli government bodies where people were trying to funnel money over them to help expand settlements illegally. So there were settlements and outposts especially that were expanding in the late 90s, but it was illegal. But then post 2000, I think Netanyahu retroactively made them legal. So it's like, yeah.
No, it was Sharon. Sharon was telling them to take over the hilltops. He publicly in 98 told people to take over hilltops, and he was like, yeah, we want to break the contiguity of Palestinian areas.
True, he did. He said that. That was like a speech he gave. But in terms of actually expanding, or wait, actually, hold on, wait, I'm sorry. Was Sharon in government at all? 96 to 99
no, this is when he was
was
opposing Oslo vocally.
Yeah, because
this is
I think it went. Didn't it go Rabin? Was there somebody between Rabin and
Perez,
Netanyahu?
fucking Netanyahu.
Okay, yeah.
Rabin, Perez, Netanyahu, Sharon. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Barak Sharon.
Yeah, Barak Sharon. Yeah. So Sharon wouldn't have been in government when it happened. Yeah, but he commissioned this report maybe 2004 or something. And then in 2005 it got published, and it was unhinged.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a time. Well, I could be wrong. I don't think there's ever been a time where settlements were just not expanding.
Yeah, it just depends on what expanding means and if it's slowed down or increased. Yeah.
It's just like, well, now it's like getting worse because like Smotrich is like super pro like settlement, like super like he's talking about taking. I don't know. You can correct me on this.
3,000 new units. Like
not just that. He's taking money from like other projects that were supposed to go through, like for example, the Arab sector. I don't know if it was for security or education or something. He took money out of that and put it into fucking settlements.
Mm-hmm.
I've
not looked at where the funds are, but like he announced like 3,000 new units, and you go one by one. It's all settlement. It's like so over. But yeah.
What is this? Some guy in my chat is
DMing me right now saying, "Oh, go ahead."
Okay, I've got a guy in my kick chat who's freaking the out over it's being labeled a Hasbara agent, and I don't even know what the that means.
Hasbara is like Israeli propaganda. Think of it like that. It's like Israelis call it like explaining. That it translates to explaining, and it's like you think of it like Israeli proselytizing. Maybe I don't know how to explain it.
Oh, okay. He's saying people like Chuck Johnson target anyone, and they label them a Hasbara agent, and they try to destroy their lives. And if you went to Israel, you'd be permanently labeled a Hasbara agent, and it would put a massive target on your back, and the public would consider.
I mean, I already am, so because you probably are as well. You just haven't noticed it yet.
Yeah, you go into Israel would not increase the chances of that. You speaking about Israel in a positive light would increase the chances of that.
Based.
So I wouldn't pay any attention to it.
Okay, real quick.
Hello.
Blue John, yeah, you're my number one fucking Mossad agent spammer in chat. What's up?
Hey, how you doing? So first of all, sorry for my accent.
You're okay. Wait, what is your accent? Where is your accent?
I'm Israeli. I'm a right-wing Israeli. Some would say extreme right-wing.
Okay, yeah, I got that from your links. The accent is weird. I'm sorry. The Israeli accents, I think I just haven't heard many, so it always sounds like some other European.
I can try speaking American, but then I would sound stupid.
You're fine. Don't worry about it.
No, he has the classic Israeli accent. Yeah.
The stereotypical one.
Okay.
Yeah, he talks like this, right? This is the very Israeli.
Wait, do you wear the hat with the curls or whatever?
No, I'm an atheist.
Why are you interrogating the Jew? Jesus.
I just want to know what's going on here.
Anti-Semitic. So I'm a Ben Gvir voter, but I am an atheist, so I don't care for the West Bank for like religious reasons, just for security's sake.
Interesting.
Yeah, so what I wanted is like to give you like more insight into right-wing Israelis' minds, not necessarily religious, in the religious side of things. Okay, so in terms of like the two-state solution, I didn't see you dive into that so much, like what are the alternatives, and so yeah, in terms of what do the right-wing Israelis want? Well, they don't want a two-state solution, of course, but and they don't want that because of security, but they do offer a couple of alternatives, one of which is like the Emirate solution. I don't know if you've heard of it. But yeah, so one of the most like popular talking points is that Israel has tried all the models. Like we've tried separating completely with Gaza. We tried the Oslo, which turned out to be a disaster and is blamed for about 2,000 dead, Jewish dead.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, what seems to and also in Lebanon, when Israel had Lebanon for a time and had to leave after a couple of years, I think. Anyway, so while it's not ideal, the settlements model, it is what gives Israel the most security.
So, okay, I understand what you're saying when you say that, okay? So,
yeah,
that the failure of a peace agreement after the Oslo Accords led to the Second Intifada, that the withdrawal from the Gaza Strip led to Hamas, that withdrawal from Lebanon led to Hezbollah, okay? I'm sympathetic towards that view from Israeli citizens, okay? I'm sympathetic towards that. But I think the issue is you have to look at the messaging from the other side as well, right? That the thing that precipitated Oslo was the first Intifada, right? That's what finally got the first Oslo Accord to happen. The thing that precipitated the Gaza Strip was the second Intifada, that Hamas won. We got Israel to leave, and that what precipitated Lebanon was essentially the failure of Israel's intervention/adventures into southern Lebanon, and that's where Hezbollah came from. So while on one end it might feel like, well, anytime we leave an area we get more violence, I think from the other end it's, well, anytime we use violence we actually like get a little bit further, we get somewhere more into the conversations. I think is the message that's sent on the other end. And then I would also be very critical of a lot of these things as well. So like, for instance, like the Oslo Accords, that there were no strong commitments made there really for anything. And the Gaza withdrawal was unilateral. There was no conversation or discussion about any type of arrangements for permanent status or for anything at all, because it was literally just Sharon doing it on his own. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But so I think that if we were to give like the entirety of Judea and Samaria and even pull out all the settlers, I think that Israel has like one opportunity and one chance here. And you heard this before, staying in a country with a 10-mile between the shore and the fence. If they want to attack, we'd have like thousands, 10,000s of casualties.
Yep.
And we may not even recover from that. Even today, Iran is smuggling weapons through to the West Bank. So we'd have what we had in Gaza tenfold if we were to give up the West Bank.
I understand what you're saying there, but I don't buy that as a legitimate reason. I think that for that to really truly be the case, if security was a huge issue, then I think that what you would see is you'd see a huge clustering in Area C around that like Tel Aviv area and expanding maybe like out there, but that's not what you see. I think you see settlements expanding into like almost like any area they can get to in the West Bank. That doesn't feel very security oriented. That feels more just taking more land oriented.
Well, you have illegal settlements, both Arabs and both Jewish illegal settlements in Area C's in Area C. I saw a report saying the Arab illegal settlements are pretty much covering the entire fence of the West Bank, separating from, like you need to understand that the distance between, for example, Kalkilia, which is an Arab village in the West Bank, and Kfar Saba, which is an Israeli town, is like 200 meters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a wall between them, though.
Sure, they can always dig tunnels. They're great at that. But so
looks like we're not the only ones that are great at it, though.
Oh yeah, that was a nice one. Yes, but yeah. So in terms of not giving enough security, I'm not saying it's ideal, but you have the guys which I wanted you to speak to, which are actual experts on this, not like I am. But they say that, for example, during the 2021 operation, what's called in English Operation Wall Guardian, Guardian of Walls. So you had many outbreaks of Israeli Arabs and West Bank Palestinians. Many outbreaks of them throwing rocks at cars and blocking the roads, and there were a couple of cases of army vehicles not being able to get to their bases, not being able to get to resupply their troops, resupply the airplanes which were attacking in Gaza at the same time.
I got a question for you, Blue John. Are you talking about 2001?
No,
2021, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a bit unfair to like just paint it as like Arab Israelis were attacking Jews or throwing rocks. There was fucking like lynchings of Arabs from Jews and lynchings of Jews from Arabs.
So that's another talking point of leftists. There is absolutely no symmetry. There was absolutely no symmetry between the attacking of Arabs and Jews. I can even find you an image explaining how many. Like, this is the less talked about point about the Guardian of Walls. That inside of Israel there were three Jews murdered. A lot more were lynched.
Hold on. There was a Jew. I'm pretty sure. I don't know if he got murdered or at least he was on his pretty much deathbed. He was a Mizrahi Jew that was beat up because he looked too Arab by right-wing nationalists like Israelis. It was in Tel Aviv. Do you not remember this?
I think here, real quick, because all this, none of this matters. I understand there's conflict along this wall and everything too, but like to further the conversation and to further like the situation on the ground, like isn't the best thing to do is to reach a permanent status agreement, like a permanent settlement, a permanent resolution to this, instead of kicking the can down the road over and over again? Because there's always going to be some amount of tension that which is going to lead to some amount of instability, which is going to give opportunity for murders, extremist groups, weapons shipment. Like, wouldn't it be just like, for instance, like today, Israel isn't really worried about Egyptian attacks in Israel, right? They're not worried about Jordanian attacks in Israel.
Egyptian, I wouldn't say that.
No, come on.
You're worried about getting attacked by Egypt.
There are some talks about that, yes.
No, come on. Wait, being serious. No, come on. It's not a serious concern right now that like Egypt is about to invade Israel or that Egypt is hosting terror. Like Egypt also enforces the blockade on the side of Gaza, right? I think Egypt is more a partner with Israel right now, even if it's a tad frigid, than they are like an enemy or like Hamas or whatever.
I mean, Hamas got most of their weapons from Egypt.
Hold on.
Like,
wait.
Not like
No, wait. Hold on.
Yes,
they might have gotten weapons through Egypt, but not from Egypt.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
Yes.
But I'm just saying that like This is what I don't understand. I'm not going to say you right wingers, okay? Because I talked to. Wait, did you know that the Knesset guy that I spoke to earlier? Did you see what I was talking about?
The Knesset guy, no.
Simcha Rotman.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I know him.
Oh, okay. Like personally, or you know of him?
No. I know of
He's
him.
from the party he voted for.
Oh, okay. There you go. Yeah. Like I talked to that guy this morning at Eli's stream. I think that convo will get posted tomorrow. I don't understand how you guys think that the status quo is sustainable. It's not. The status quo is not.
I'm not saying it's sustainable as it is right now, but I'm saying that giving them the entirety of the West Bank would leave us so vulnerable. Is that how we say it?
Vulnerable, yeah. And it doesn't have to. I don't think anybody's ever talked about the entirety of the West Bank, though, right? Like, there's always been an understanding in negotiations that huge settlement blocks along the western part of like Area C would probably stay. I think that's like always been an agreement.
Which is why you should look at the Palestinian Emirates plan.
I don't know what that means, but I'm going to guess without looking into it that it's a crafty way to deprive Palestinians of a state and make them some like subjugated territory.
So basically, what it means, it was proposed by a guy. You got proposed. You got his videos given to you by a bunch of your viewers. He's called Mordechai Kedar.
Okay.
He's a professor, which talks about how the most successful countries, most successful Arab Muslim countries in the Middle East are based on tribes or clans. And that's what he wants to do here with the Emirates. Like he has all the information about the most prominent families of the Palestinians living in the West Bank, and he wants those families to rule their turf, sort of.
Would this be the creation of 8 independent countries, or would this be like a federalized system across 8 different states, or
whatever are the Emirates, like in the Emirates,
UAE?
the UAE, yes.
The UAE is a state, though. The difference.
Yes, so but we keep the security control.
Would you be protecting?
Why is that different from? Why is that different from?
attacks?
Oh, sorry, go on. That's fine.
Like, if you're in control of security, would you be protecting Palestinians from attacks from settlers?
What again?
If you're in charge of security, would you be protecting Palestinians from outside threats?
generally usually when they say they're in charge of security, usually that means
their security.
Yeah, that means they do military, but you would still allow them to have a local police force, right?
Yeah, but the local police force would never be allowed to shoot at an Israeli citizen.
I'm not too sure about the small details, but for example, even today, you have the IDF trying to prevent settler violence, which is too blown out of proportion, by the way. But the IDF is also protecting Palestinians in the West Bank.
I'm just curious, what is the percentage of the West Bank land that would be allotted in this 8-state solution?
I don't know the precise percentage, but it's 8 cities in Gaza in the West Bank. Tulkarem, Kalkilia, Ramallah, Hebron, Shechem, which is Nablus, Jenin.
Sure. Just looking on it, it looks like,
Jericho.
if I had to guess, it looks like we're talking about maybe 20% or less of the total land.
Yeah, it's not going to be a lot, which means they can't be self-sustainable.
Yeah, how are they ever going to? Where's the sustainability if all they have are cities? They're going to be completely reliant
on Israel for imports. They're going to be reliant on Israel for electricity, water, everything. So everything, it changes nothing. Then Blue Chan, this solution just changes nothing.
Well, this is a base solution for Israel because it divides the Palestinians into 8 different parties as well that they can't negotiate on behalf of each other. And
did you send this map to someone? Sorry, what are you looking at?
Well,
I just googled this.
He's talking about the cities themselves.
Oh yeah, God, this is like. Okay, this is worse than Trump's plan.
Yeah, no, Blue. This is basically not just separating Palestinians by territories, which is what Israel already done. You're separating by their groups now. They're no longer one group. which just
Which
works in
is
Israel's favor on all fucking like
no,
aspects.
I feel like I
No,
need to
I
just get to
disagree.
the chase, right? Because it seems like you obviously don't want Palestinians to have a state because of a security concern. You don't want to definitely nothing approximating the 6-7 borders or Taba or Camp David. So it seems like you just want I don't think you believe in your heart of hearts that Palestinians as human beings are going to accept something like this and just go quietly.
So the
right?
steelman position on his end is, well, he does his security and all of that. If we're appealing to something like, and this might be true of all of the other Arab states or other Arab states, I just don't know the history so much, but if we're appealing to something like Yemen, trying to make Yemen one cohesive state seems like a massive fucking failure. That there were very strong family lines and tribes that identified with different areas, and trying to mash that all together into one giant state seemed to be a really bad idea. So if we look at the Palestinians similarly, then maybe we can say like, well, this is an issue too. The only thing is, I just haven't heard, I haven't read, I didn't come across any of this where Palestinians in like the West Bank were warring against each other all the time. I feel like they're pretty united against Israel. Yeah. Go ahead.
Not so much because, so again, Mordechai Kedar explains it much better than I can. But you have, for example, families who don't want fathers who don't want their daughters to marry outside of their village, for example.
Yeah, but is that strong enough of a disagreement to where they want like a whole different country?
No, it's not, because even within Israel, that's a fucking thing. Like, in my village, for example, they don't marry their daughters to another village. Doesn't mean we need to live under a different citizenship.
Yeah. Also, I'll be right back.
What is more
Also,
pressing
the
to them, right? Their
Palestinians will
national
never-
identity or their family identity for Palestinians?
What again?
What do you think is more important to Palestinians, like their national identity or their family identity? I feel like their national identity is pretty strong, no?
Yeah, I think so, but I think also their family values.
How much do you
You
know?
don't think so? You know that like they would like their national identities compared to their like a family, like an Emirates family, it's night and day.
Yeah, no, it's
Also,
definitely not
in the Emirates, they also control the Emirates basically by family.
I know,
Each
but he's
Emirate-
saying they're different from Palestine.
But the Emirates are a contiguous state. They're not just a bunch of separate cities.
I think they have different families have different control of cities. Loner.
Also,
No, but the
about the right of
Emirates-
return, part of this is about dismantling UNRWA, and there's basically zero right of return, or zero people coming back in. So either way, the Palestinians are not going to accept this practically. I mean, I don't know why we're proposing this.
Well, I don't think he's coming at this from letting Palestinians accept it. This is kind of forcing.
Yeah, I'm saying
they adapt to it, which I obviously would
like iron wall stuff. Okay,
yeah,
maybe.
I'm saying this is an alternative solution to there are multiple alternative solutions to this two-state, which is bad for Israel. I'm not saying this is the only solution, but I'm saying why this solution has its ups, positives, and negatives.
Personally, I don't think you know Palestinians well enough to know that there is positives for this.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I wanted him to. That's why I wanted Destiny to actually see.
But Destiny isn't Palestinian either.
I get that. I wanted him to see the actual guy who came up with the plan speaking about it.
But isn't the guy that came up with the plan not Palestinian as well?
But he's a sociology professor of the Middle East.
But how does he know about family relations between Palestinian families and why? Do you realize you can't just you realize there's not one major family in one city, right?
Yeah, he knows about them.
Even my city, that's tiny as fuck compared to those cities in the West Bank, has 6 major families. It's not like this plan won't work. I'm just telling you right now, as a Palestinian that knows how Palestinian culture is and how Palestinian family relations are, this would never work, because that's not the dynamic you are putting on us is like Gulf Arab dynamic, which we are not from the same type of culture.
But you just admitted you have major families, right?
We have major families, yes.
Bottom.
But we don't have the same dynamics as families in the Gulf states.
So what if your major families were to form an emirate?
mean, we're within Israel, so I don't think that would matter
No, but
much.
I'm saying like if you were in the West Bank, for example, then the other families would see you as legitimate.
There's not enough territory for that to work. If they form an emirate, what is the territory they have? Just the city? Where are they going to get electricity, water? You realize travel is still going to be restricted. There's still going to be that.
Right now, Israel already does imports.
So you want them to stay reliant on Israel.
They'd have to be, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to be. But I think
Which is not a solution.
But I think
I think the idea is like you just want a solution that Palestinians would never concede to. Like they'd rather you fucking like chase like they would sooner just get chased out of the entire West Bank in the millions before accepting some shit like this, right? But I guess that's kind of like the logical conclusion of what you guys want.
What I want is
no. It's not that simple though, because you want something they'll never accept, and you want to keep expanding into the West Bank for security reasons. Like at the end of the day, like the only logical conclusion of this is you get rid of all of them because it's an unsolvable problem for you. Like reconciling this level of security concern with what Palestinians will actually accept.
I also have this issue with the claim for security. Okay, what's the Itzhar settlement's security concerns are?
What again?
The Itzhar settlement. Do you know of it? The Itzhar settlement that is literally buttfuck in the middle of like 6 Palestinian villages that they constantly attack.
Yeah, so
like what's the security like reasoning for that settlement being there?
I don't know if they attack them, but
it's one of the craziest settlements there.
I'll take your word for it, but the entire point of them in terms of if you view it through military eyes, it's that they open the ways for the army to go. Like if the army needs to go forward, if we're talking about Lebanon, for example, if there were settlements inside of Lebanon, and when the Israeli army was inside Lebanon and he wanted to go forward into more Lebanon territories, then you'd have the army itself with convoys, I think. You'd have convoys going inside and plenty of soldiers dying. But when you have settlement...
But wouldn't it be safer to not have a settlement that has settlers from it attacking those Palestinians that would in return cause Palestinian violence? Would it not be safer?
So you're saying that the settlers should stop the violence, and so...
Here, by the way, just so you know, I'm not coming at you where like we should destroy all settlements. Like settlers, as I hate the idea of settlements, they should like you shouldn't kick 700,000 people out of their fucking homes. My fucking point is like we should probably go into the steps of a 2-state solution that has open borders. Obviously, that's going to be risky at first. But then later on have a confederation where like the EU, would they have open confederation, so that way you wouldn't have to kick all the settlers out of their home and Palestinians would have freedom of movement as well. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of death through that fucking process, but there's never been a fucking achievement, like a big-ass step like this that has never caused death before.
Sure, but again, if you take the example which I've given about the Guardian of the Walls, which in the Negev, you don't have... There's a part of the Negev where you don't have a single Jewish town or village, and
it's
you
just
have
Bedouins. It's Bedouin settlements.
And in the Guardian of the Walls operation, the Bedouins block the road completely.
But what does that have to do with Palestinians?
So no, I'm talking about why those settlements that sit inside of all this Palestinian territory actually help the military.
Okay, so
because they are opening the roads for the military.
So are you saying any time there is a blockway towards for the military, they should be like having an outpost there? Like why don't Israelis give a fuck about like civilians from Israel blocking aid into Gaza? Then they're fucking stopping the military operation that the IDF is supposed to do. You guys don't care about that. You don't care about military operations. You care about military operations that give you freedom of movement and safety within the West Bank while you're operating there. That's what you care about. You don't care about the military
I
being
think
safe
the aid
or
into
secure.
Gaza is completely different.
But
I
you're
don't
talking
ha-
about the military's movements. Like,
Yeah, but the aid into Gaza has nothing to do with the military movement.
but they're being blocked by Israeli civilians right now.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with military movement inside of foreign
You
or
yourself
enemy's
were
land?
talking about how the Bedouins, so it's not a Palestinian issue. It's about the military. That's what you kept. You mentioned the Bedouins for that reason. Did you not?
Yeah, but I'm saying, but the blocking of the aid doesn't prevent from the IDF from going into Gaza.
Okay,
So I
real
don't
quick.
see.
Real quick, there's no evidence that that Israeli civilian protesters have affected aid into Gaza. They do get removed by the IDF, and if you track the aid entry into Gaza over time, there's no evidence that these protesters have been anything other than the same sort of pro-Palestinian meme that block a highway.
Exactly. There's no evidence for it, just like how in the West Bank. Like what is the evidence for this? Like that the Bedouins were blocking military from continuing their operations or into the West Bank. Like, what is the evidence for this? Like there may be delays, but complete blockage.
The evidence is that no ammunition got to planes for 3 days, and they had to re-ammo the planes by helicopters.
Okay, and what were they fighting during that time?
Gaza.
Does Gaza have planes where they could airstrike those planes? I don't think Gaza was going anywhere while you guys were rearming.
I don't get what's
Like
the point of that. I'm saying settlements.
You're not fighting a different country that you could fucking, for example, hypothetically lose your country or Israel for like being delayed 3 days. Like if it was, I would understand your concern, but you're not.
I'm saying that settlements or towns or Jewish villages, when they get into a territory, okay, even one settlement, they open up a road for the military to operate there, to move through that road.
Okay, and I'm gonna tell you, have you ever thought about the consequences of those settlements being there on Palestinian life? Like every single time you've talked about settlements and why they're good is you're talking about Jewish. You're not talking about anything for the Palestinians. Like, do you understand why this isn't a solution? Because you've never even mentioned the Palestinians or any benefit to them.
Yeah, I'm giving you the right-wing approach to this.
Exactly, it's the right-wing approach that will never get a solution, because that's what the right-wing wants, not a solution. They want domination. I'm sorry to tell you this, but that is reality. They don't want solutions. They want domination of Palestinians.
I mean, you could see it as that way, but I'm talking about what are military goals, like what we lose by giving up that entire piece of land there.
Well,
I'm saying this is not a good deal for us to give up.
Okay,
this
I'll tell you right now,
road
I actually don't view checkpoints into Israel a bad thing at all. I think checkpoints and the wall should stay for Israeli safety, right? The ones that separate Palestinian villages from each other, where a Palestinian that can take a road that's 15 minutes to another village has to fucking go for 4 hours or 5 hours to reach that other Palestinian village that could have been a 15-minute drive, should not have to do that. Those checkpoints and blockage or whatever the fuck stuff.
But this doesn't have anything to do.
Have these guys made any progress
with how settlements benefit the army?
Because the settlements are put in a position where you have a position in between Palestinian villages like Ramallah and Nablus, for example, and then now they have to go through a checkpoint to be able to cross a road that would lead to that settlement that's in the process of going to Nablus from Ramallah. That's why the settlements are bad within there, and that's why the checkpoints within there are bad for Palestinians. Like, you still haven't mentioned anything for what this is beneficial to Palestinians. Settlements are never beneficial to Palestinians in this regard. Not a single point has been beneficial.
I'm not saying
Good
it
job.
should be.
Okay, are we good here?
Yeah, I'm gonna probably stop because like it's getting nowhere. I repeated multiple times like this is not beneficial to Palestinians in any whatsoever. You don't want the solution. You want domination of Palestinian freedom and movement.
No, I'm just saying why Israel cannot give up those particular things.
Well, here, if it's for security, you can secure the border just like every other country does.
Yeah, which didn't help us against Gaza.
I'm pretty sure it would have helped you if the IDF took the threat seriously. It's just like they had a lot of warnings about incoming attacks repeatedly that they were lax about it. Unfortunately,
or that they were busy in the fucking West Bank.
In the West Bank, yes,
with the amount of violence and security needs that come from settlements.
Before you say there's no evidence for that, there was 5 brigades operating all over Israel, while there was like 21 within the West Bank.
So what? So the IDF shouldn't protect its civilians in the West Bank?
Clearly, the threat was from Hamas. The threat from Hamas was way bigger than the West Bank. No.
Why do they need? No. The question is, why do they need to protect so many civilians in the West Bank? It's because they have settlements there. No.
Yeah. They're like provocateurs.
Like that's why settler violence. That was the before the October 7th. The big thing in the news from Israel Palestine was settler violence. Yeah.
Also, I mean, to be fair, we don't know. Like, there is no like Al-Ghanat report. Like, you know how we had in Yom Kippur after the war, we had like an extensive report into what were the causes. We don't have that still, so we cannot say for sure. But yeah, there were warnings, and the West Bank was like occupying a lot of the IDF's operations at the time. So yeah.
But here, another question. I will ask you again, and you need to answer this for me because this is really important for Palestinians.
Need to answer.
Yes. What will you do about settler violence if you choose to keep those settlements there for Israel's security?
Okay, so again, I'm against settler violence. I think
don't
it's
care if you're
blown out
against
of
it. What will you
proportion.
do against it? Not if you're against it. What will you do against it?
Anyone who commits any sort of crime goes to jail. I don't know what you want me to say.
Except that doesn't happen right now. Shouldn't we get to work on that before you suggest the solution?
If I may, I feel like settler violence is actually a huge red herring. I don't think settler violence is like that big of a deal. I don't think settler violence is like a huge thing on both ends. I think that like the bigger problem is figuring out like a permanent arrangement, or I would say that like the outpost stuff is a way bigger deal than just like this blanket of like settler violence or whatever.
The ordeal of it, yes, I agree to say that. Like, it's just the outpost, the checkpoints, all that is very.
Yeah. That yes, yeah, I would agree with that.
But you have to keep in mind, we used to think settler violence was not that big of an issue, except it grew. Like, I'm not sure if you've seen what they did to Hawar. I'm not sure if you've seen what they did to Tursumiya. It wasn't just 1 or 2 guys. It was like hundreds of them burning an entire village. Like,
so what I heard about settler violence is you have these groups in the West Bank and reporting this basically to the UN. So a professor. What?
Then one of the name of the groups is Hilltop Youth. The other one is the Price Tagging Gang. They have dumb fucking names.
Yeah. Anyway, so they give this information to the UN, and a professor from a university in Tel Aviv got this information from the UN, and he said 30% of the so-called settler violence are just Jews going up to the Temple Mount. They had more incidents where Palestinians attacked. It was a terror attack against Jews. Some of the Jews were killed. The Palestinians got shot in retaliation, and the organizations wrote it up as settler violence.
Which
so that's what I don't remember their names. No.
Am I supposed to take like a face value that an organization faked evidence about settler violence and you don't know the organization name?
I can give you the, you know Hebrew, right? So I can give you the
Hebrew, yes.
reports. Yeah. about it.
I mean, yeah, but which is this organization? If it's if the report is Hebrew, like I need to. If it's a right wing organization, obviously I'm not gonna buy that.
Yeah, I can try to find it for you.
Regardless, like we like ignored fucking settler violence for a long time, and until it grew into the issue it is. And Destiny, it's not that they only attack Palestinians in the West Bank. There's sometimes attacks on my village within Israeli territory. Like they come and burn people's cars in the middle of the night. Like
For who, settlers too?
yes, settlers from the West Bank come into Israel in Kfar Qasim and burn like cars and slash tires and spray paint walls with like Arabs get out. Like
Sure. I feel like it reminds me of, it's like the apartheid argument where it's like settler violence is a thing, but I think that it's massively a subset of the awkward territorial stuff that's happening right now, right? Like for instance, hyperbole, but if Palestine had its own independent state, like settler violence wouldn't be a thing. They would just protect their borders. Like the PA would shoot and kill like random Israeli people that were coming to the country. Obviously, it wouldn't necessarily be that simple, but I'm just saying that it seems like a subset of having people living together in occupied territory and not occupied. Like it's just a clusterfuck of stupid shit that happens.
Sure, and you also have Arabs from the West Bank coming in to steal cars, to do other shit. I mean, we have the statistics about all of this, and how much there's no symmetry between the settler violence and the Palestinian violence, which again I'm against. Even though I'm a Ben Gvir voter, I'm against all that violence when it comes from our side, especially.
Ben Gvir incites that type of violence.
I wouldn't say that. Maybe he thinks that.
I'm sorry, I can't have.
Isn't that one of his charges? Was for inciting hatred against like?
Yes, but I'm talking in terms of policy. In terms of policy, I don't see anything too extreme, which is why I voted for him.
Well, you were saying that you wanted like more repercussions for settler violence, because right now the problem is there isn't that much. But yeah, you got someone like Ben Gvir who's allowed in the government.
Well, and also, hold on, I'm sorry. The reason why I think this is a red herring on both sides is because like, one, let's say that we focus on the settler violence. From the Palestinian side, if a lot of attention goes to that, it feels like the big issue is settlers that are being violent. That's not the big issue in the West Bank. The big issue in the West Bank is that area A and B makes up less than 50% of the territory even allotted to the Palestinians, and that outposts and expansions are continually happening. And then on the Israeli side, it's like, okay, well, we're going to crack down on settler violence. We're going to do all this stuff and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, but you don't get any credit for that at all. Like, that shouldn't even be happening, first of all. So you get zero credit. And second, the main, I'm going to use the academic political version of violence that is being enacted on the Palestinian is the encroachment into the territory. It's the expansion of the settlements. It's the every single day, any part of Area C that you might ever get is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Like, that's the big issue. That's why I just hate the settler talk so much. It downplays the Palestinian complaint, and then it overvalues like Israeli credit. Like, you stopped settler violence. Like, you stopped your own citizens from attacking, I guess, like people that are under your occupation. Like, congratulations. Like, it's just such a I just feel like it's a dumb issue to fixate on. I hate it. I think it's a dumb.
I understand why you don't like that type of, because like if you mitigate the settlements or like remove the settlements, the settler violence would obviously by product go down as well. I think most of the problem is like not necessarily the settler violence itself, it's the IDF protection that comes toward with the settler violence. Like, the IDF is protecting the settlers while they're committing violence.
Okay. This is what I would ask, okay? And I'm not going to do a whole ass fucking research because your country and that shit, okay? Because I'm taking a break this month, okay?
It's anti-Semitic.
But, and racist too, because I'm also talking about the Arabs, okay?
Oh.
When we say the IDF is protecting settlers committing violence, I see multiple iterations of that statement. So the softest version is a settler might commit violence, go back to their village, and then Arabs will come to fight and kill them, and then the IDF will kill the invaders or whatever. That's a non-issue in my opinion. Like, the IDF shouldn't be allowing like vigilante justice. That's like the weakest form. The middle form is there have been times rarely where a settler will commit violence and like radical IDF soldiers will kind of like give them cover for it, which is bad. And it wouldn't surprise me. I think I've seen examples of this happening before. I think I've had news articles where it seems like that was happening. But then the strongest version of this argument is that the West Bank is basically Pogrom City, where settlers basically go under cover of IDF like artillery and gunfire to just set fire to Arab villages with impunity, with the IDF providing constant cover for them. Like, how far apart are we on the reality between like the middle point and that far right point? Like,
you're probably it's a little bit worse than in the middle point.
Okay, because when I hear settler violence under IDF cover, that sounds like almost like a policy, or this is like regularly happening where pogroms are being committed against Palestinian citizens in the West Bank.
If you want the most charitable, like, what's it called, description of what actually happens, is that IDF soldiers do not treat the same behavior from settlers that they do from Palestinians. Palestinians, like, even if they talk back, they're most likely going to get a fucking butt stock to the face. If settlers throw rocks at cars, like, they would probably just tell them, oh, stop doing that.
Sure.
Like, it's the treatment that's very different.
Yeah, it's just like the inevitable outcome of like expanding settlements and occupied territory, right? Because that's like where the problem is. But that's where we're getting to that issue where, like, one of the people in here seems to think that expansion of settlements is actually enhancing security. Whereas the others are saying that expansion of settlements is actually creating new security issues.
In terms of putting more forces there, then yeah, I'd feel more safe knowing there are more forces being deployed there.
Did you have this feeling before October 7th or after October 7th?
Again, what?
Did you have this feeling that you would feel safer after October 7th or before October 7th?
October 7th made it stronger, I think, because...
But that would go against your own point, because the threat didn't come from the West Bank.
So again, on October 7th, you had 2 brigades, I believe, guarding Gaza. And yes. Once they got through those forces, they got to the kibbutzim. And each kibbutz has its own like fire force. I don't know how to say in English.
Basically, private security, I think, right?
Yeah. So those guys did so much of the work there of covering people from the terrorists who got there, and the same stuff works in the West Bank. That approximately. I think pretty much all the settlements in the West Bank have private security there, and and Israel sees them, the right wing at least sees them as their shield, as their like first line of defense in case a terror
Why
attack.
would you have civilian population there?
Because this gives us the legitimacy of.
Do you not see the problem with that?
Because if you have only the army being there, like it was in Lebanon, like I think in Iraq or Afghanistan.
What you're saying is it gives you more responsibility to be in the West Bank, is what you're trying to say.
It will make it more legitimate, yes. So, and more legitimate across time.
Okay, so then why not take down the wall?
Which wall?
The West Bank wall.
Why should we take it down?
Well, if there are settlements out there and you are expanding the security areas around the settlements, then why do we need the wall? Shouldn't the wall come down?
No, because more defense, more good.
Okay, but you're literally locking your people off from getting back to Israel, aren't you? Unless they all have to crowd through like a checkpoint or something?
Yeah, no, they have roads coming into Israel. They can come and leave, come and go.
There's roads where only
they have much more free movement.
Yeah, their movement is like pretty much
into and outside of Israel, yes.
The wall is just there because, like, even though it looks like Israel's dividing its own land by a wall, it's because there are Palestinians in the West Bank. But that's always going to be the problem for you.
Well, no, but I'm saying that it feels like sometimes the people that make the security argument, it seems like they want to have it both ways sometimes. So, like, settlements and settlement expansion is done for security, but I thought that there was a massive wall erected around the West Bank for security, which makes sense. But then why are you building settlements on the other side of your defensive wall? It makes it seem like it's territorial in nature, or for like the Gaza Strip, like I had the conversation today with that politician guy, and I was like, okay, well, if you want to completely demilitarize Gaza, fine, go for it. I think Israel has the right to do it, but then you have to end the blockade. You can't have a blockade and totally demilitarize the reason, because the whole reason why the blockade existed was because it was militarized. And his response is, well, there is no blockade, so we're not going to end a blockade because there's no blockade to end. And it's like, okay, well, you can't have it like all the ways, I think. Like,
okay, so I think, first of all, about the politician guy, I think he has to appease to his audience, which is why he gives you those
talking
answers.
points. Yeah.
Yeah. But in terms of why should a wall be there, a wall didn't help us with Gaza. They broke about 60 different points. The wall in Gaza got into Israel. So I'm just saying, why should we put down this wall if it just gives us more protection, even if it's just small protection? But why should we put it down?
It's just when we say we built a defensive wall and then we expand on the other side of it, it feels less like security and more like territorial expansion. Like if the area over there is so dangerous, we need to build a big wall to protect us from it, but we're like putting civilian populations on the other side of the defensive wall.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
No, it is territorial expansion, though. You wouldn't disagree with that.
No, it is. Yeah, it is. Definitely.
Yeah. And I mean, it might be territorial expansion for military protection, but the Palestinians don't care. You can expand for military protection, or you can expand because you just want to expand. It's at the end of the day, it's the exact same result.
Yeah, I agree. It doesn't benefit the Palestinians. It's not.
That's what I've been saying for like the past hour, man.
No, I agree. I told you, I agree. I told you I'm saying it out of like the right-wing point of views, that we don't want to risk our security.
And I told you the right-wing point of view is not a solution; it's domination.
Yeah, because when you say this, like, I don't think you sincerely believe that you're going to do that, keep expanding your territory, and then Palestinians just, I suppose, will like fucking 4-year-olds will just suddenly, if you're mean enough to them, and if you're harsh enough with them, then they'll just accept what you give them. You know they're not going to do it, so eventually you're just going to kick them all out. They're just going to get fucking booted out to Jordan, right? That would be the best thing for your little plan, right?
I'm not sure about what
would you continue to Jordan then?
I'm not sure what would happen in the future, but I'm saying
wait, hold on. That is the number one far-right Zionist cop-out argument of, I'm not sure what will happen in the future. That's the BS argument, because we know what's going to happen in the future from the Israeli end, and that's the expansion of territory. And you know that that's incommensurate with what the Palestinians want, which is their own territory. So we know that it's going to be a conflict, and we can't be like, well, who knows what'll happen? That's like, it's like a girl is like trapped in a fucking box, our stepsister, with her pants down on the other end of the room. You're like slowly walking towards her with your throbbing cock, and you're like, who knows what's going to happen when I get to the other end of the room? Like, let's see what goes on. Like, we all know what's going to happen October 7th, or at war, or over and over and over again. That's what's going to happen. Like, it's inevitable.
I think you lost with that analogy.
No, I get what you're saying. Maybe,
like if all the Palestinians in the West Bank just kind of like disappeared, like they just vanished tomorrow, like that would make your life a lot easier, right?
No,
if only Gaza would sink into the sea.
Before that, what if all the Palestinians get pushed into Jordan? Is a wall going to stop them? Is the Jordan River going to stop them? Or are you going to expand settlements into there for your first line of defense? Because a wall wouldn't stop them with your logic. Like where does it end?
No, but Jordan has a peace treaty with us.
Okay, the Palestinians
the 3 million Palestinian refugees in Jordan wouldn't have a peace treaty with you.
Like you're gonna be recreating 48 to 67, where now you've got Palestinian Fedayeen on all of your borders that are either gonna try to attack you or try to draw the countries that they're into attacking you. And if they don't, they're going to be trying to coup those countries. And then if that fails, they're just going to be getting kicked out, and it's going to be like a huge fucking disaster everywhere.
I know. I'm not for kicking Palestinians out to Jordan. I'm not saying that.
Wait. Hold on. To be clear, by you saying I'm not for kicking Palestinians out to Jordan, that's like you putting a gun to somebody's head and saying, I really want to pull the trigger, but I'm not trying to kill you. Like that is the inevitable outcome, because what is the other outcome? You're not going to absorb everybody in the West Bank and make them a citizen, right? I don't think any far righter in Israel wants to do that.
Definitely not.
You can't annex it fully.
Like the far right wants to get rid of the current Arabs they have.
Yeah, so I just don't know what is the alternative. Like, what do we think is going to happen? Like on the path that we're on the path that you want, because you said you're right wing and you vote for the right wing. Like, where do you think the Palestinians are going to end up? Like, try to guess. Like 20 years from now, if the situation continues to get worse for them, which it will, what happens? Like, what do you think? What do you think would happen?
I think it's just going to keep being this type of on and off conflicts, but. That's what I said at the beginning. I think the situation is not ideal, but at least the settlements give us the protection that we need. Not the entirety of the protection, but some of it.
What do you think? Here's a question.
It's not ideal.
What do you think happens when Gaza reaches 3 million citizens, or 4 million citizens, or 5 million citizens? What does that situation start to look like? Or what does it look like when Area C, expands, or the settlements expand through Area C, or the checkpoints become even harsher in the West Bank, and the West Bank population grows? What does that situation look like in the future? Like, what's going to happen?
More violence, probably.
Yeah, and the region's going to be it's going to be even more unsustainable.
Wait, hold on.
What?
Like, I already explained this to you, that, like, continuing this path forward, there's going to be more violence, so these settlements do not contribute to your security. And you disagree.
No, wait.
Now you agree.
No, I didn't say I disagree. As I said at the beginning, I'm saying it's not ideal, but it's what gives us... Like, it's either this type of conflict, or we give a lot of land to Palestinians, and we get October 7th back.
Okay, well, here, I'll just tell you like this. If you're gonna do what you're gonna do, like the right-wing solutions, at least take responsibility when they fucking fail like they always do. Because what you guys do to the left, when they ever make decisions that blow up in their face, is like, look what you did. But whenever you make decisions as the right, and it blows up in your faces, you don't. You blame the Palestinians. You never blame yourselves like you do the left.
Yeah, also, and I want to be really clear, you said that, well, if we pull out, we're going to get an October 7th. To be clear, you've been doing what you want to do, and that got you an October 7th. Right? October 7th didn't happen after a whole bunch of left-wing policies and et cetera, et cetera. October 7th happened after the current road and plan that you're on was what was happening. So, of course, another October 7th should happen. We would expect it to, right? There was a big war in 2008. There was a kind of one in 2012. There was a big one in 2014. You had your Great March of Return in 2018. You had October 7th, 2023. Like, well, what's going to happen in 2026?
But October 7th happened from the place where we didn't get what we want, at least what the right wing wanted.
What do you mean? Sharon wanted that. Sharon pulled out.
The right wing narrative. The right wing narrative is that, like, especially from the Ben Gvir side, is that the disengagement from Gaza was Sharon kowtowing to the left wing. And
no, that's true. The right wing opposed the disengagement.
The right wing might have opposed it, but it was a right wing prime minister, a pretty right wing one that
it was a right wing prime minister who had to form his own party.
Sure, number one.
Leave his right-wing party,
but the purpose to do that wasn't some left-wing hacky-packy whatever bullshit. It was to legitimize Israeli presence in the West Bank, and it was done without any consultation with anyone on the ground, even the settlers themselves, in the Gaza Strip. I don't think that there's a unilateral disengagement, and wow, look what happened. That's not surprising at all. Yeah, no shit. You pulled out of territory after an unprecedented amount of violence, which completely validated Hamas's military arms, and then you shored up your majority in the West Bank and then pushed heavily into there, which, let's be honest, even for the right wing of you guys in Israel, I don't think you actually give a fuck about Gaza. I think Judea and Samaria are way more important. So yeah, I don't think that was even a real, it's not a real sacrifice. It didn't come from like left-wing peace policies. It was done to literally shore up and gain international legitimacy for moving into the West Bank, which I think to some extent they even got.
Destiny, just like the right wing kind of view of this is that Sharon was under pressure from, like, he had this story with his, I think, son and the island in Greece. I don't remember all the details about that. So they think he might have wanted to deflect from that or change the news. Also, that he was kowtowing to the left. By doing that, it's not a right-wing move. They don't view that as like a right-wing government that they would agree with. If you ask like my dad or pretty much any BB supporter, they would say they would have opposed the settlements at the time.
Yeah, but the argument Destiny's making is that the pullout of Gaza is not a model for like a peace process. It's not what anyone on the left is advocating for, that they just unilaterally leave the West Bank and give it up. There would have to be part of like a bilateral
negotiated agreement.
That was the problem, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I was more
it's not
disputing the fact that like it's well, we did the thing which I agree with 100%. Which when the left quote fails, it's the left's fault. When the right fails, it's the Palestinians' fault. They wouldn't view the disengagement as the right's failure, even regardless of the Palestinians. Yeah.
So in regards to the Blue John, and push back a bit on you saying it's like, oh, it's because we didn't get to do what we wanted in Gaza. That's why October 7th happened. You got to do what you wanted in the West Bank, and a new terrorist organization emerged. The Lions then emerged after the right got their way in the West Bank. Like,
didn't they get obliterated? Like
they still exist. What do you mean 2 years ago? They were formed like in 2022. Like they still exist till this day. They're obviously there are a lot of pressure because there's a lot of raids into Jenin because that's where they formed up. But they formed after the right wing got their way with the West Bank. Like
yeah,
get to the conclusion yourself. I'm not helping you here.
Jesus.
No. So the terrorist groups inside the West Bank, they all form up under and against the Palestinian Authority. So in their areas where they have their governance, even now they have Hamas cells inside of the Palestinian Authority areas. So everywhere where we don't have either settlements or security control, they continue to create those terrorist organizations.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Why was there like extremism within Israel? You have control within Israel. There's extremism like in groups that formed within Israel. Remember the Islamist group that separated from the Kfar Qasim one in al-Fahim? That was extreme. They were crushed pretty quickly, but they supported violence against Israelis as well. Why did they form there when you could have control there?
When we could have had control there?
When you had control there. You have control in al-Fahim.
Okay, so from what I'm understanding, at least before Ben Gvir stepped into the office, the police was very, was very frightened from stepping into Arab villages.
He walked in almost by himself. He had 2 police officers in my village calling us animals and terrorists. I don't think he was afraid.
No, not Ben Gvir. I'm saying the police force before Ben Gvir stepped into the office.
They were not afraid either. Like, they were still they were harassing people in my village. Where did this come from?
The police was?
Yes. That's why we created our own security, like private security, because the police wouldn't protect us, but they would just sit outside a kindergarten and give fucking trafficking tickets to people that like parked on the wrong fucking brick.
Yeah, anyway, so the story is that... No, I'm not changing the subject. No, don't worry. I'm just saying that the story is that the police, which is what I know, the police was too afraid to get into the villages and get into the houses of the criminals who were shooting up all the time there. And this is why it got out of hand. Are you talking about the ISIS terrorist, which was in Hadera?
No. I'm talking about an organization. It's an Islamist group that separated from the one from Kfar Qasim, that became their own group and supported violence against Israelis. You probably don't know about it because they were crushed within like a fucking month, or like they still exist, but like they don't do anything because they'll immediately get fucking crushed. Regardless, the police don't protect, and the stupid thing about like, oh, it's because the police try to ask questions to the Arab citizens and they don't talk. This is bullshit that I've seen. It's bullshit. The police don't even investigate when a murder happens. And they even arrive like fucking 30 minutes late from a place that I can get to on foot 2 minutes from the police station. The police do not care about preventing crime in Arab communities, and you already know this. Everyone knows this. It's just they are living in denial. Regardless, this still does not like I'm trying to show here. I'm not trying to tell you Israel does this wrong, or Israel does this wrong, or Israel does this wrong. I'm trying to show you the flaw in what your solution is. Like the settlements do not necessarily bring you more security, and even if they do, Palestinians deserve to live too.
I agree.
Okay, settlements prevent them from living and having freedom of movement and, living life.
I think the issue is that in the short term, I think you're correct. Having like complete dominance and control over the Palestinian people over the short term yields a better security status for Israel, but it's unstable. There's a huge tension. And as time grows, your issues between the Palestinians and the Israelis will also grow. You're not making any progress towards fixing it, and the pain that's going to be endured in any sort of lasting peaceful process just grows as you continue to choose short-term security arrangements over long-term realistic solutions that are recognizing the realities on the ground. Like, any negotiation is going to be so hard now because of how many settlements there are in the West Bank, and it's only getting worse, such that we're proposing 8-state solutions based on tribal lines now to try to avoid any sort of contiguity. Well, now we don't have to talk about contiguity because it's 8 different states. Like,
it's not getting better because Smotrich just approved the 3,200 housing units in the West Bank.
I hate that. Honestly, for this entire thing, I blame Jordan for everything. I think that in 67, Jordan, the king, he should have been braver and he should have just not attacked, because I think that if Israel does fall as a country, it will be because of that conquest into Judea and Samaria, and then the subsequent obsession that all of the cringe new religious Jews that abandoned their old based fucking communist secular ways got once they got all that territory. I think that was just the biggest fucking mistake. Or at the very least, you could have just taken East Jerusalem and then off. But conquering that whole territory was just, and then refusing to like figure out what you want to do with it is just unreal. It's just unbelievable. Like,
yeah, I agree.
But I don't think so, because it's so crazy. When I came into this debate initially, months and months ago, my position 8 years ago was informed by the fact that I thought that this was the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because I didn't know any of the history. And that's not true. It's an Israeli-Arab conflict, and that is the history. But then when you talk to right-wingers today, well, actually, it's just an Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is not true, because the macro play, if this continues to endure, like if I ask, do you think that the world opinion and the surrounding states' opinions about Israel is better or worse than it was 6 months ago?
Probably worse.
So if these terrorist attacks continue to happen, there's a reason why, and we all agree that Hamas uses human shields. Hamas loves civilian casualties. Hamas loves death, because as long as Israel is the occupying power, nobody internationally and none of the surrounding Arab citizens that, honest to God, probably learned that Jews are like horned beasts that control the Western world since birth. So these people are already predisposed to hate you for a variety of reasons, right? All is happening is the international opinion of Israel continues to deteriorate, and not in a bullshit like here's more UN resolutions, but like in a way that what if it reaches a point to where the surrounding Arab leaders have to start making concessions to their population when it comes to Israel? Like,
so I want this to be a question to you as well.
Yeah,
because the normalization with Saudi is still happening, is still on the table, and
it is, although recent Saudi statements have been that it's going to be contingent on a Palestinian peace deal. I don't know if that's going to be true or not. But
no, but that's but maybe that's because they want to appease to their audience.
I agree, and there's going to be some level of appeasement, but that's only when the population's hatred for Israel is kept to a fine simmer. But if that boils over, Israel could like very quickly lose legitimacy in the eyes of its neighbors, and holy now you need to be really careful about what U.S. president you have, because the United States is schizophrenic as when it comes to foreign policy. Because if you wind up in a situation to where you have a populist, crazy anti-foreign policy intervention president, if Trump comes up and for some reason Trump, whatever, changes position on Israel, which who the knows, and Israel gets into huge issues in the Middle East, I mean, who are you appealing to at that point? Are you going to go back to Great Britain or France, or you're fucked? You're actually completely fucked.
Yeah, I actually agree that the world pressure is a huge deal.
Yeah,
Blue John, I want to
inside the
ask you
conflict.
something. Do you think the Arab countries would continue normalization with Israel if they saw that the negatives outweigh the positives?
I'm actually not sure, because you have Like even Algeria got how many people got kicked out from Algeria?
It was a million, wasn't it?
It's just over 1 million.
It
Yeah.
was a huge amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and
What does
it
that
was
have to
all.
do?
I'm just saying that even if Palestinians get kicked out of certain areas or transferred, which I'm not saying I'm behind this, I'm not supportive of it, but I'm saying that
That Ben Gurion spirit, eh? Depends who you're
but
talking
I'm
to.
saying that after some time, the world would forget. Maybe, I don't know.
The Palestinians haven't forgotten.
That was a very different. First of all, the Algerians were kicking out a population that had somewhere else to go. Not to mention that it was like a colonial population.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
did you just compare Israel to like a
No,
colonist state?
I'm just saying that maybe the world will eventually forget about it and
No,
would
but
not care.
the thing is, the Algerians were justified in kicking out the colonists because they were. Sorry to tell you this, but it was probably worse than apartheid. I hate using that word because everyone doesn't know what it means anymore. What was it called? Like they were literally treating them as badly as slaves were treated. They were
it was also
justified.
a time when like transfer was very normal in the world, whereas now
Now it's a lot less normal.
Very differently.
I think that this is the super radical take, unfortunately. But if Israel would have conquered all of mandatory Palestine and expelled every single Arab Palestinian from that territory, I think you would have maybe an argument that at that point people would have moved on. But that didn't happen. You do have a lot of Palestinians living in the area, and now these population transfers are much more rare. And Israel is seen as a Western country, so they are held to a higher and different standard. And you've got international infrastructure that's like motivated to continue the struggle forever via UNRWA and other Arab states hosting infinite numbers of refugees and never giving them passports. So the idea that the world would forget, I don't know how.
They haven't forgot 75 years ago. Why would they forget after this?
So, I agree, first of all, but one of the things that the right-wingers like to propose is voluntarily, like Palestinians living voluntarily. So, for example, right now, thousands of Palestinians...
The retarded children arguments, sorry. Okay.
From both the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, thousands of them leave each year. So the right-wingers want to give them incentives to leave.
I understand what you're saying here, but I feel like Shlomo repeats this line a lot, that one of the huge problems between the Jews and the Arabs is you guys continue to fail to understand each other, and that the framing of the Palestinian refugee problem as a simple economic problem demonstrates a failure of an Israeli Jew to understand what's at stake here, because I know that I could flip the question around to you and I could say, let's say that we offer 100,000 USD to all 400,000 Jewish settlers in Samaria and Judea. Do you think they would leave? And do you think the right would support that as long as they're compensated for it?
I think there's a difference because, well, the living conditions among the Palestinians are not that superb, unlike the settlers. The settlers do live, I mean, they do have the security risks, but in terms of living conditions, they're kind of...
They have cheaper housing, they have constant water and electricity.
Yeah, they don't have that many reasons to live like the Palestinians.
I understand, but how is this any different than like Palestinian violence and terrorism, where their solution is like, oh, violence is how we get the Jews to leave, because they view you as colonists. How is this any different, giving them an incentive to leave? The violence is also an incentive, not just economic.
Also, you would propose this for rich Arabs too, right? I mean, it's not... I don't think it has to do with the living conditions.
Yeah, and also a lot of these thousands of Palestinians that leave you speak of, they go into a European country or a Western country, make a shit ton of money there, and
then become activists and shit.
Those ones I don't know how they fucking got to that, but like the normal ones, Destiny, that normally don't fucking talk online and shit.
Sure.
They make a lot of money, they send it back home to their friends and family, like that still live in the West Bank because they can't make enough, and they also come back and visit like 8 times a year. It's not like they forgot about it. They didn't forget about it. It's just easier to live like that, where you're not constantly dehumanized in the West compared to you are dehumanized in the West Bank. You make more money, you can live a better life, and you can come visit the land that you're oppressed in. But as a fucking foreigner.
Yeah. Also, the Haredi living situation is very bad too. But you would oppose giving them like $100,000 to leave and go to the U.S. It's just not. It's not about the economic situation at all. I think we should make that clear.
Well, I wouldn't say it's not that at all, but like the economic factor is not the largest part of it. Like you can't just buy out.
That's what would make up the incentive.
Yeah.
But it's not. But saying I would oppose doing it to Israelis because they are in a different economic situation, that's just not true. You would give it to Arab rich people, and you would give it to poor. You would not give it to poor Israelis. So it's
also,
just not about that.
Not to sound like. Again, I think Israel is trying to live in both worlds, where it's like we desperately need this. We have to have this territory. It's essential for our security. Our settlers need a place to expand and blah, 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 blah. But also we're like a shining beacon of success and everything in the Middle East, and we're such a strong nation and we've got such a great economy. Like if Israel, like I'll be hyperbolic, if Israel were to deport every single settler, their own settlers, or bring them all back into Israel and literally give 100% of the West Bank and 100% of the Gaza Strip to the Palestinians and then work on stuff from there, Israel would be totally fine. I don't think that their economy would be massively destroyed. I think for the most part, I think the country would get along fine. Obviously, you have to resettle of people, 500,000 people inside your borders. But hey, you guys somehow fucking did that from 48 onwards all the way to today, incorporated tons of external population in the country. I think Israel would still be massively prosperous, massively successful. You've got a thriving democracy. Your economy is super awesome. You guys have cultivated a land and lived in an area that really doesn't have much to offer in the way of natural resources. I think you guys would be fine. Compared to the Palestinian side, who would dramatically improve. Like Palestine and those people and the prospects for those people and the future of those people would dramatically improve if they had access to that. I'm not even suggesting you go that far. On the flip side, if Israel were to manage to shore up its demographic majorities, annex all of Area C in the West Bank, manage to whittle the Palestinian populations down, let's say to like everything almost, to where they're just like basically in a collection of villages, I don't really think the Israeli situation improves much at all. Like, not to be mean or rude or to be dismissive of the religious aspect, but you guys don't really gain much, I don't think, from like taking over more of the West Bank. I don't think you guys gain much from that. It's not like Israel's massively improving as a country. Thank God we've got the prosperous fucking town of fucking Hebron now that we run larger parts of it. Thank God we've got like ancient Samaria now that we run these lands. Milk and honey is flowing from the fucking rocks. Like
so two things. One, if you listen to the arguments, for one, it would be the religious aspect, but this guy's an atheist and whatever. I think we're all atheists here. The other thing is, honestly, it's not about a material improvement in the current living situation. It would be about eliminating an opportunity cost. Now, I hate the settlements. I'm just giving the argument. It's like it would be getting rid of a risk, not necessarily a material improvement physically. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they would say.
Wait, that getting rid of the settlements would get rid of a risk for Israel?
No. That like the second thing you said about like expanding into the West Bank, all Area C, blah 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 blah. It's not improving Israel that much. They're not going to be milking honey and singing kumbaya. Sure, it would be about the security argument, like about like eliminating a risk, about an opportunity cost. It wouldn't be about like an improvement per se.
Oh sure, I'm not fully convinced of the security threat from.
I know,
from the West Bank. I'm also not to sound mean and not to sound super unhinged and lose all my Israeli fans. I'm not even fully convinced of a legitimate security threat from the Gaza Strip. This sounds super cold, and I don't mean to sound unhinged, but like October 7th was tragic, but like a severe threat to like Israeli security. I mean, like it sucked and it's annoying and terrorist attacks or whatever, but Hamas isn't about to conquer territory from you guys. They're not like disabling the IDF. Like,
it's probably better.
No, just to be clear, I'm just giving the right wing perspective because I know it well. I'm not like arguing. I'm very much against the settlements, but
it's probably better to word it in this way, Destiny, that the country was not going to fall from October 7th.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, Hamas, they had a couple of documents captured from Hamas that said they wanted to keep going up to even the West Bank and an intelligence center inside Tel Aviv or near Tel Aviv. So I'm not saying it.
I'm pretty sure that's just made up rumors that they were building tunnels towards Tel Aviv.
No, not building tunnels. Like wanted to get there. On October 7th.
Want and do is two different things. I want Palestinians to all have...
No, they planned together and got stopped. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, and like it's pretty... Okay, there's no point in trying to explain this. Whatever.
No, I'm just saying it could have happened if they got their way.
Okay, then Avi's calculations aren't exactly based on wants, though. Like, it's a different topic, whatever. It doesn't matter. Regardless, Blue John, the solution you proposing, I'm telling you right now, it's actually to the detriment of Israel rather than the benefit.
Maybe.
True.
Maybe, but
And
maybe.
I say this all the time. Ben Gvir, Smotrich, their parties, they are terrible, not just for Palestinians, but for Israelis as well.
Maybe, but I don't know. I haven't been convinced yet, which is why Destiny, you will you come to Israel?
Will I what?
Is it like, will you come to Israel? Is it like confirmed?
Maybe. Depends on how proactive LonerBox wants to be in organizing it. But if he really wants to, if he's got the desire, then I might fuck it, because I was reading my.
Also, I want to point something out. Yeah, you did an AMA in the politics server like a year ago, maybe like half a year ago or something. And I called in. I talked about like some philosophy shit, and I said, "Come to Israel, do an ask like what do you call it? Change my mind in Israel." So I predicted everything. I saw it. Just saying.
Nice.
But yeah, either way.
When you come to Israel, I saw Apostate Prophet coming to Israel, and he didn't speak to any of the people that I would have wanted him to speak to. Can I give you some of the people? Like, they're not political even.
Let me get to like step one of like having. Well, me and LonerBox will talk tomorrow and figure it out, and then
Okay. Okay. Can I ask you another question? Do you have time?
Sure. Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So one of the talking points in Israel between right-wingers is that military men inside Israel from the IDF go work for the US for a limited time, get their forces there or something, get back to Israel, get promoted to a higher ranks, and do the US bidding. Do you know anything about this?
Wait, as in, are you thinking that members in the IDF are trained in the U.S. to serve basically at the behest of the U.S. interests?
Not trained, but like taught by people in the U.S. Caroline Glick talks about it. I can link you an article about this. It's she's an English speaker.
Conspiracy theory?
I thought about it at first. I thought so at first. But then I keep hearing about it a lot.
I think you need strong evidence for this. The reality is that I'm not even going to say in your region. It's true everywhere in the world. Nobody wants to accept the facts on the ground because they're inconvenient to either a narrative or they're just hard to emotionally grapple with. So people start to make up things to save their egos or to explain a situation that is beyond their current comprehension of because of whatever narrative that they've bought into. So so like when Egypt lost to Israel's whole Air Force in like 2 hours, the only reason that happened is because there were British and American planes as well. That was a huge myth that spread in the Arab countries. The only reason Israel existed because Jews controlled the entire Western world. And I guess for the far right party in Israel, the only reason why the IDF isn't more expansive or hasn't been more aggressive in taking care of problems is because I guess there are Jews that are now being that are learning in America to be America's dog instead of actually, I guess, like representing the best interests of Israel. Like, unless you've seen really strong evidence for that, I would never try to explain things with broad narratives or conspiracies like that. I think it's probably just more likely that, yeah.
So what they're saying is, so there are two main groups in the US which teach generals from the IDF. One is Wexner Group. The other one is someone named Martin Indyk, which, by the way, you can read all of this from Caroline Glick. She's like a reporter which works inside both the Israel and the US, which done like 18 years research into this stuff. And yeah, so it's not like what?
I was gonna make a joke because when people talk about 18 years of research, I always mention how much research has Finkelstein done.
Hey.
Isn't it like 10 years or something?
I'm not saying it's true, but
Decades.
I just wanted to hear like your thoughts about it.
I mean, I'm sorry, dude, but it just sounds like conspiracy theories. Like, honestly, because here it's another conspiracy theory from the right was like, oh, the Arabs wanted to breed their demographics to the point where they can change the country for their better or something.
No, but I'm speaking about like if you were in Israel right now, from
I
the
was
right wing, you'd hear the. I'm speaking like generally to the people here. You'd hear a lot the word conception, like the army was some sort of a conception that Hamas wasn't going to attack.
But Destiny's already went over that. Like, it's just like that group who is currently in control, making up excuses for why it's not their fuck up.
What do you mean? But the army did say a couple of times that the Hamas was not going to attack. There's no threat coming from Gaza.
Okay, what does that
We're
have to
safe
do with
from.
American intervention? Do you think American intervention had?
So it goes like this. So the conspiracy goes like this. So you have people going into America. Okay, they come into Israel as high-ranking officers in the IDF, which, by the way, some people are also saying the promotion is granted by the US.
Okay, it's definitely not that.
And then, so the people that are saying this, some of them like they have a head on their shoulders, a brain. I mean.
No, but you think they have a head on their shoulders. I probably,
maybe.
If I fucking heard them talk, I would think they're probably stupid. Like, honestly, like, because these conspiracy things make no sense to me. Like, why the fuck would America?
The thing is, all these people, all
But
these
it's clear
high-ranking
America has.
officers.
Hold on. If America had control, or at least had influence the same way you're implying, then they would have gotten what they wanted out of the army already. Like, they want they clearly don't want what's it called, the IDF doing what it's doing right now because they are worried about their voter elections. Biden is in office. If they had that influence and control, this like the IDF
Sure,
would
but the theory is that the Biden administration and the Democratic administration wants the two-state solution to work, and they push for it in every way that they can.
I mean, the reality is that like there's going to be like elements of truth to all of this, right? Like the United States has some influence over Israel. Israel has some influence over the United States. Everybody has some influence over everybody else. I just don't think bolstering it to conspiratorial levels helps. Rather, just like look at the reality of the situation on the ground and understand why people might want the things that they want. Like I think that's way simpler than trying to understand anything.
Yeah, but the thing is, one of the main like. Israel right now is in turmoil from within, which is one of the reasons Hamas attacked when it attacked. So one of the conflicts inside Israel is between like the political group and the army, because the army is acting like it doesn't want to involve too much the prime minister, the head of security, and stuff like that, because the army and the Shin Bet and these types of security organizations don't think they know better than the people that got chosen by the country through elections. And one of I told a couple of people that I don't remember if it was severalizer, but on the night before October 7th, you had the head of intelligence, the head of Shin Bet, and the chief of staff of the IDF talking on a phone call that they are seeing some sort of activity inside Gaza, and they saw a couple of signs saying that there is going to be an attempted break-in, and they didn't even wake up the head of security, like the political grade person. Which is why I'm saying
I don't. The idea that people knew that a terrorist attack was coming and could pinpoint a precise time and everything and let it happen anyway. I don't know. Has that ever happened?
I'm not saying they let it happen purposefully. I'm saying they miscalculated what it's going to be. Because, for example, the Nova Festival, a week before the Nova Festival, the army sent messages to people inside the security forces that there are some alerts about a potential breaking of two kibbutzes, and the festival was still allowed to happen.
Okay,
sure. Hold on, just real quick on that. Okay, because this type of stuff gets said a lot in the US too. So I've dated somebody and I've known people that have worked with clearances, and they get like updates from, I think it's the DoD that does it. I can't speak to every country, but I'm almost positive this is the case. Countries' security forces and intelligence are daily posting warnings about stuff that could happen. There are, if I had to guess, on the order of magnitude of either hundreds, I think, or thousands of these that occur just issued by the U.S., either DoD or State Department alone. But most of the time, on the public, we don't ever hear about it. And most of the time, they amount to nothing. So it wouldn't surprise me if in Israel, there are also a ton of these warnings that are issued by Shin Bet, or I don't know if the IDF properly does it or whatever. There's probably a ton of these warnings. It doesn't mean that there's like definitely an attack coming. The question would be, how many of these warnings are usually issued? Like, is this a thing that happens like every week, every few days?
Yeah, so it happens a lot. It happens a lot. One of the problems is you have types of preparedness of the soldiers. So how prepared are the soldiers for?
You mean alert, probably?
Yeah. So the soldiers there they didn't even know this was going to happen. No one notified them. You have videos of them being butchered in their pajamas. So even the most basic...
Okay, let's skip ahead. What is the point you're trying to make? What do you think happened, or what are you saying is happening, or?
I'm connecting this to like the conception of the army, of the higher-ranking people inside the army, which is why I'm saying you have this...
It's not Bibi's fault. That's what the point you're trying to make? That it's actually like the IDF's fault and not Bibi?
No, Bibi has a responsibility here for sure, but like direct responsibility is more on the higher ranks of the IDF.
Okay, I'm pretty sure the Shin Bet took blame or something originally at the beginning of the thing, and they said they were gonna launch an investigation after the war's over. So this like whole thing started as speculation from the right wing into it because they want to take, like, they loved that the Shin Bet admitted fault because they want to take off. No, a lot of it is speculation because it started happening as soon as the Shin Bet admitted fault in the information they got or they had or regarding the attack, and it's all speculation that started on the right-wing news channels where they kept going on and on and on and on and on until they reached to the point where like, oh, they wanted this to happen. It's speculation because when you speculate from that regard,
again, I'm not saying they wanted it to happen.
I know, but you take more blame off the right wing. I'm not saying you say they wanted it to happen, but that's probably the intent behind the speculation. They wanted to get more blame off the government, which is right wing as fuck, which is pretty fucking like in line with what the right wing always does. Don't take blame for your own fuck ups. Blame other people. They couldn't blame. I mean, obviously they could have blamed the Hamas for this, but what's it called? Why was this allowed to happen? Something on this scale. They couldn't just blame the Hamas on this. They had to blame someone from the inside that could have possibly knew on this. They couldn't blame themselves.
Sure.
They had to blame the IDF.
I'm not saying Bibi doesn't have any responsibility here, but I'm saying that if the army comes to Bibi and tells him Hamas aren't going to attack anytime soon, and they remove brigades from guarding Gaza, then they have even more responsibility, I think.
But they didn't come and remove like brigades a day before. If they removed brigades a day before, yeah, I get it. But like the brigades were the brigades were all in fucking West Bank pretty much for like more than 2 months.
So the story about the 100 soldiers moving to the West Bank is mostly false, by the way, but they had forces there. The forces were minimized because of the holidays, and they didn't even put them on alert. That's the problem. If the forces were on alert, if they weren't inside their pajamas, it wouldn't be such a bad catastrophe.
I mean, listen, as much as I know, there was not enough soldiers, no matter what kind of equipment they had, to deal with as many Hamas.
No, I'm not saying.
Also, okay. Also, wait. Can we wrap? Can we do like final statements on this and that? Because we looped on this for like 20 minutes, I think.
Yeah. I have something else.
Okay. What do you have?
I just wanted to suggest people you could talk to.
Okay. Yep. And we'll see if I get we'll see where I'm at with LonerBox, and then we'll see about that. Yeah.